Hi, this is Pearl and welcome to my channel. Today I have a quick but laborious, is, is that how I would describe it, layout for you. I am using the Felicity Jane Grace kit, and you'll see here I'm fussy cutting some of the scallops from the branding strips. Now I have all of the branding strips here, and I'm also cutting some strips of the 12 by 12 paper. I am using my Caterpillar Pro, which is my favorite paper trimmer. And I'm taking, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I have 16 strips here that I am just putting in some kind of an order. I'm trying not to put two whites next to each other, so it's a white color, white color, white color, all the way down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere them slowly by only putting a little bit of adhesive onto the back of these strips, and I'm going to adhere them down to this white basil cardstock. Now, all of the products that I use in this video I will have linked down below in case you're interested in doing this kind of a layout. So I put these down, white color, white color, white color, you'll see here. And then I'm going to adhere them by just putting a tiny strip of kokuya adhesive, which is my favorite roller dot adhesive because it is repositionable. It's just my favorite. It's made in Japan, and you can order it off Amazon. I love this adhesive. So I'm going to adhere just a tiny portion of the branding strip onto the white cardstock, because what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to put these all in order. Then I'm going to sew white thread through the top of the stitch. So you'll see here that I'm starting from the bottom, and my big mistake, so don't make this mistake. And the reason I started from the bottom, let me start there. The reason I started from the bottom is because I wanted the top branding strip to overlap on top of the bottom, the strip right under it a little bit. So I didn't want to start on top and then have to pull the strip up, if you know what I'm saying. Does that make any sense? I think you know what I'm saying. So I'm starting from the bottom, but you'll see here that I made the mistake of not using a T ruler or even the grid on my mat to make sure that the lines were straight. So if you decide to do this kind of a layout, make sure you do it straight if you're starting to adhere the strips from the bottom. So you'll see here that I'm going to adhere all these down and then realize it's at an angle. So I have to redo all of it. So that's going to take me a little while. And after I finally get it right, I'm going to take it to my sewing machine, and I'm using just white thread, and I'm going to sew a stitch, just a straight stitch to the top of each of these branding strips or strips of 12 by 12 that I. Now I'm going to sew white thread and just a straight line on top of each of these branding strips, and I'll do all that. I just wanted to show you that I am doing that here, but I'm going to get off camera here to finish the rest of the strips. After that, I am here showing you what it looks like with all this thread sewn in. Doesn't that look beautiful? Yes, but I am going to do some mixed media on there. So I am using this stencil, and it's by Dress My Craft, and it's a vintage heart stencil. I'll have this link down below. And I decided I'm going to use Nouveau Mousse. The one I'm using is in the color Poppy Pink. And I'm going to use a spatula. This is brand new. And note to self, or note to you guys, if you guys haven't used this, make sure you don't take off that foil part on the top, because it does dry out. Some of my older ones were dried out. So I did have to add some water to get it to mix, to do some mixed media. So I'm just using a spatula, and I'm going to go from top left to the bottom right, and I'm just stenciling this vintage heart because it's so cute. And I'm just taking that Nouveau Mousse and just spreading it all over. I'm not being particular about where it goes. I want some to be full, I want some to not be full, and I don't want it in a straight line. I just kind of want it wherever, willy-nilly, so to say. And then there's an area right there on right in the middle where I overlaid where it overlapped on the stencil, but I'm okay with that because that's where my photo is going to go. So now you'll see here, I'm going through each of the layers before the mousse dries, and I'm going and I'm picking it up because I want these layers to be like ruffles, you know, and ruffles they don't always just lay flat. So I don't want it just to be layered, I want it to be ruffled. So I'm struggling here because I'm getting the mousse onto my fingers, but I'm trying to lift it up. And I have to be really careful because the areas where the mousse was really thick and dense, it was ripping the paper. But I'm okay with that too because this is more like a shabby chic kind of a vibe. You know what I'm saying? It's not perfect and it's just for fun. So in some of the areas, I do have to use a spatula to pick up the branding strips or strips of 12 by 12, but you'll see here that I do that. Now I'm going to put it off to the side to dry, and while that is drying, I'm going to mat my photo. Now I decide only to do 2 layers because of all the branding strips that I'm using on this 12 by 12 paper. I don't want it to get too busy. So I am getting the date correct on my Felicity Jane date stamp. Also, I end up using the One Canoe 2 date stamp. So that's why I showed you the second one. So I'm getting the date ready. And then I'm gonna use my ATG gun to adhere my photo to this diamond pattern 12 by 12 paper. And I'm gonna cut that using my Caterpillar Pro again. And I'm just going to do part of a border. Now it's not going to border the entire picture. I'm going to cut it so that it ends up just shy of the photo. So you'll see I lift up the paper here to do that. Then I'm also going to take the mint green flower paper, and I'm going to use that as my second border. And this just happened to be a scrap. So I'm going to use my ATG gun to adhere that. And then you'll see that I'm going to bend the edges of this paper to make it ruffled, or yeah, ruffled like the layers of the branding strips and the strips of 12 by 12 paper I use. So I'm just kind of bending that. It doesn't have to be perfect. Actually, it's better if it's not perfect because it's willy-nilly. And then I'm going to use my Tombow Mono Multi adhesive to adhere my photo down to the 12 by 12 paper. Now the reason I'm using that is because the branding strips are ruffled, so it's not going to lay flat. So I want to make sure that the photo adheres down to the layout. So this is where I put a ton of adhesive to this photo so it'll stay down. You'll see here that after I let it dry, I'm trying to ruffle more of the branding strips. Then I'm going to adhere the photo down. And as I'm doing that, I'm also going to go through and look at the embellishments that came with this Grace kit. Now again, because I have all these ruffles and the stencil on there, I don't want it to be too busy, so I'm going to keep the embellishments pretty simple. So again, you saw me putting the Tombow Mono multi-adhesive, and I'm laying it on pretty thick, and I'm not pressing the paper down too hard, but it is going to adhere to the Nouveau Mousse as well as the embellishments. Now I'm taking the Tombow Mono multi-adhesive again and doing a die cut flower to the top left of the photo. I'm also going to do a leaf, and with the leaf I'm using the Tombow Mono multi-adhesive as well as dimensional foam to pop that up just a little bit. And you'll see here that I end up moving that leaf branch, you'll see. And I'm using the letter stickers, the alphas that came with this kit, and all I'm putting on there is 18 months. And then I'm going to put a puffy sticker to the bottom right of the photo, so that's where my triangle is, you know, for design. So I'm just keeping it simple with black and white embellishments since everything else is so colorful. Then I'm going to use my VersaFine Morning Mist with my One Canoe 2 date stamp to put the date to the left-hand side of the photo. So this is where I move that branch a little bit, or that stem, that's what I should say, it's called a stem. So I love using the Morning Mist because it is gray and not stark black. I do decide to use one more embellishment, and it's a chipboard that says Just Darling. I'm going to use that and adhere that with the Tombow Mono multi-adhesive and put that to the bottom right hand side of the photo. And then I call my layout done. I hope if you try this kind of a layout, please tag me in Instagram or YouTube. I don't know how to tag in YouTube, but please tag me. I'd love to see what you do. Thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and thanks for watching.